I had just uploaded a video about my Spirit of Christmas quilt and how I was using my 66 red eye to make that quilt. And during that, I mentioned that I was having trouble with the Model 20 going through flannel. And I just want to point out a couple of things about a Model 20. This is the one in the blue case that has a table, and you'll notice that I have actually put some cushioning fabric and clamped it, even though it's in a case. The other thing that I've done is I had to oil it. Now, I'm finding that Model 20s really like oil, and even if they're sitting for a few days, they like to be oiled when you start to use them again. So you'll see that under there I have a piece of foil because I had just oiled the machine, and that will keep the oil from dripping down into that wood base of the case down there. Let me get this back out. Now, I had this thread in this machine. This is vintage thread, but it's thread that I hand wound on a small bobbin. I'm going to mention the Gateway NP1 for a moment here, because if you can find old wood, you can use some of the modern 135 yard spools, but they have many holes, and the spring tension on the Gateway may not work right, so you may end up wanting to hand wind your own thread onto wood bobbins on the Gateway. On the Model 20s, that's not really a problem. So my problem with this on the Model 20 was the actual thread. Now, I had found after I started using Model 20s that I think it's Coates and Clark's. I use their XP thread now, but this is an older spool, and it's their all-purpose thread. And it's probably polyester. It's 300-yard spool polyester. As soon as I put a better thread in there, I thought I needed to change the needle. Before I even got to the needle, I put a better thread in there, and it's sewing beautifully through. This is cotton, flannel, and a very high thread count sheet. Now, when I was doing this before, I had the sheet on the top, so if there were a problem with the needle going through the sheet, it would have been on the top. But my problem was it wasn't making a complete stitch with the other thread. And as soon as I changed the thread, we're fine. So just a few tips on the Model 20 and quilting: that you want to use a good quality thread, probably polyester. Most of my Model 20s came with vintage thread, and even though we love the old wooden spools and everything, a lot of times the thread is cotton only, and it breaks very easily, and then you're fiddling with your tension, and sometimes it just causes a lot of problems. So here is my Model 20 in the blue case, and I'm going to go ahead and do some of the Christmas quilt squares with a blue X instead of the black. I can mix and match, and I can also change the colors of them. So this is not a problem if you want to use this to make a Spirit of Christmas quilt. Now, when you go to put it together, you'll be going through double those layers. So even if you trim your batting, which in this case is flannel, it'll be 6 layers. I'm not sure how that will do. I have done it before, but with a polyester batting and not the flannel. So I think I made a placemat, and I think I had polyester batting. I'd have to check. But we'll find out if the Model 20 can handle quilting, because it should be able to go through these 6 layers to sew blocks together. So 2 things upcoming on Model 20s would be the binding on my Bluebird quilt and sewing blocks together for the Spirit of Christmas quilt.